Recording. Alright. So I thought I was recording for like a whole 45 minutes. I'll look up, see what percent I'm on, or see what time I got. Boom. 0. But yeah, so basically I'm gonna just skip everything and I'm gonna give y'all a summary of what happened. Goku lands on Beerus' planet from misfunction, and Whis trains Goku. Beerus wakes up from his slumber. He fights Goku. Goku becomes the new god of destruction. He kills Beerus. He gets that angel girl, who I think is Whis' sister, who looked just like Whis, but with the ponytails. Yeah. Well, hold on, I'm gonna pull her up because I got her. This girl right here. Yeah. She loved Izuku. She loved Kakarot, and Kakarot loves her. But Zeno won't allow this to happen. So basically, she goes to Zeno. Oh, he already kills Frieza and Cooler. Cooler tries to come after him, and Cooler's dad tries to go after him, and they all die. And basically, his base form is Ultra Instincts, and basically, he's on like Zeno base 2. These are like random things that I'm coming up, like new forms. Like Xeno base 2, and basically when he unlocks his form, Xeno says he's unlocked my form. If he unlocks the third one, he's more powerful. He could be more powerful than me. And Grand Prix says, "Sir, you're the strongest in the whole entire galaxy universe." And so went on. There's no more powerful than you. And Zeno says, "Actually, there." And he says, no. And he says, "What did you say, sir?" And he says, and the person stronger than him is Kakarot. And basically Kakarot, he basically just, he's like, basically Kakarot is just, Kakarot is basically like, Kakarot is like, he's like, well, let's see, he's like, she, Angelina, oh, that's gonna be that angel girl, that's gonna be her name, Angelina, she goes to Zeno and says, "Zeno, may I, she says, I have a confession to make someone, but he says, and she says, I kind of need your help with it. And he says, yeah, tell me who it is. And he says, which one of the angels is it, huh? And he says, is it the Grand Priest? And she looks down, she checks it and says, no, it's not. And Grand Priest, he says, man, because he liked her, but he respected her. And basically, he's like, she says it's not an angel, and she said, Zeno gets serious and says, who is it? And he says it better not be. She says, who is it? And she says it's Goku, or she says it's Goku, and he looks to her, or he opens his eyes immediately and says, what? And he says, say it again. I really couldn't hear you. And she says, it's Goku, sir. As in a clear voice this time. And he says, so you came to me asking if you could have advice to be some humans. He says, you came with me and asked for advice to ask if you could be a human's girlfriend? You disgust me. Get out of my sight. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, this 18 plus. Like cussing, sex, gore, violence, and stuff like that. And, because I really don't want to say Oh, profanity part every time I'm about to cuss. Okay, so yeah, I already said it. So yeah, basically Izuku, he says, she is okay, Lord Zeno, I'm sorry, sir, and she says, I can't back. She says, I'm sorry, Zeno, I'm gonna have to disobey your rules in her head, as she gets bound to what's the name planet, and he says, why did you go up? He says, did you have some business to handle? Kakarot says, and as she gets back to his planet, and he says, no, I didn't. I just wanted to. He says, no, you don't have to tell me. She says, you don't have to tell me. And basically, oh, sorry. Basically, Kakarot is like, he says, you don't have to tell me. And she says, thank you. And she goes to Kakarot, and she says, I have to tell you something, though. And she says, what is it? She says, he says, you can tell me anything. And he smiles. He says, what is it? And basically, she says, I kind of have feelings for someone, and I don't know how to tell you, and I don't know if you're gonna be okay with it. He says, he says, I'm gonna be okay with anything. He said, I'm gonna be okay with anything that you wish or ask for. And she says, really? And she says, yeah. She says, Kakarot says, so who is this lucky person? And Kakarot, and she says, it's you. And basically Kakarot, Xeno's watching this, and he said that bitch disobeyed my orders. And he ordered the Grand Priest to go down there, and the Grand Priest said, Grand Priest sleep. He sleep. All that hard work, he sleep. He tries to wake him up. No, go away. I'm asleep right now. And he releases all his bloodlust. He releases a little bit of his bloodlust. He says, go down there. It's alright. I'll go down there later. Zeno says, yo, you said you're useless, Grand Priest. And Grand Priest chuckles. He says, oh, yes, you are too, Zeno. And Zeno says, to hell with you. And he goes down there, and we'll say they're about to get ready to, do the thing, have some sex. And I like how it's just so straightforward. That's the most straightforward I was ever. She says, Izuku, this is my first time. And then she's like, Izuku, oh my, why does he say Izuku, bro? Get his name out your head. Crybaby. Kakarot says, oh my god. Oh my god. I'm gonna be right back. I need some time to think of their names. Okay, I'm back now. So as I said, sorry. Like I said, Angelina. She says, Izuku, this is my first time. She blushes. I would say she's only in her bra, and she's wearing Izuku drawers. And he says, oh, that's where all of my drawers been. I must say she got a lot of bust. She has a lot of bust in her chest and in her booty. He says, that's where all my drawers been going. Basically, she says, yeah. And she said, yeah. And we'll say, he's arriving there. And they start kissing, tongue kissing. And he says, are you sure you want to do it with me? And she says, shut up already. And she takes off her, she says, shut up and just stick it in already. And basically, she takes off her, what's it called? She takes off Izuku's, drawers. Take off them drawers. You gonna get it on, like, take off them drawers. I'm gonna pop some fans out there. Basically, Izuku, he says, he begins to pop smoke a little bit. He says, we gonna get it all night. Take off them drawers. And she chuckles and says, I'm already on it. And she says, they're already off. Izuku, And basically, they fucked out the rubber. Ooh. Izuku pulls out and he says, when I nutted on the covers. Ooh. Nah, I'm playing. I'm gonna let Pop Smoke don't knock out. I might play some Pop Smoke while I'm watching this. No, I'm not. I might though. I might. When that woo, hey, I'm talking about my Pop Smoke fans out there. Got it on me. Got that. Now let me stop. Basically, we see Izuku, he's about to stick it in, and he's just knock on the door. And he says, give me a moment, Shia. And she says, okay. And he says, Izuku says, I'll answer it. And he says, no, I'll answer. She says, no, I have it. And he says, oh, okay. And basically, she puts her clothes back on. And she opens the door and says, who is it? As she opens the door and say, she says, who is it? And Zeno pop. He bing bong boom. And he started beating on her. He says, what'd I tell you, huh? This is what happened when you disobey me. And basically, Goku, she is crying. And I'm gonna say they watched some movies before and she been crying after the movie, and she is crying. And she blitzes in there. Zeno second form. He says, what the hell is going on? And he sees Zeno beating on Shia. And he says, yeah, that's what you get. Just don't ever disobey me again. And Izuku, he says you won't be here for her to obey or disobey you ever again. He goes to Zeno and crushes his head in. And you know how Zeno's head is like a pill? It's like a regular human head this time. He goes to his head and he crushes his head. And he starts beating up on Zeno's body. And his bloodlust, like all the other gods of destruction, they can feel his rage. And let's see. Champa says, oh, he's mad. Champa says, and that fish dude, whatever his name is, all the other four or five God of Destruction says, whoa, he's furious. I can feel his wrath. And basically, there's Champa and the other God of Destruction, like they can feel his wrath. And basically, Izuku, he says, you die. And he's smashing Zeno. And Grand Priest, he wakes up. And he feels Zeno's presence. And Ki is like gone. He says, has Zeno died? And he said, Grand Priest is like, no. There's no one stronger than Zeno. As we see Zeno, we see Angelina say, she says, Goku, that's enough. She says, Goku, he's already dead. And I'm gonna say, Shia, he says, he stops. He looks at Shia. And basically, he blitzes her in a nanosecond. And he hugs her and he says, I'm not ever letting you out of my sight again. And basically, his shirt is, he don't have a shirt on. He only got some jeans on with some night pants and his underwear on. And he says, I'll give you some more power so you'll never get hurt again and it'll heal you. And basically she says, no, keep your power. And he says, no, you're having it. He says, no. She says, no. Or Izuku says, no, you're getting some. As he touches her forehead, or he breaks the hug, and he says, this might be a little pervy. but I have to touch. I see he gets his hand. He says I have to touch somewhere. As he gets his hand, like when you when you squeeze in when you squeeze some gongs, the female bazonkers, storage lockers. Basically, I already said it's an 18 plus series, so I don't know why I'm holding back. We squeeze the female titties. Basically, basically how that hand motion go. Like your hand is like fingers are moving down. Yeah, that's what he does. He says, "Well, I'm gonna have to touch somewhere." And he looks at her and he smiles and she says, "What do you mean?" She says, "What do you mean somewhere?" And he goes blitz behind her in another second. He says, "Right here." He said he blitz behind her and he says, "Right here." And she gets spooked and he saw her. He gets close to her from behind and he starts I want to say Izuku. He still had his jangling was still hard. And yeah, and Izuku basically ah ah Izuku basically, let's say he still his jangling was still hard, and he presses against her cheeks, and she doesn't know this. He says sorry, and he basically he's squeezing her titties, and he's like this is where I had to touch to insert my power in you, and he says, or I could have just gave you some of my DNA, but I feel like this way would be easier. And she says, no, just give me a kiss. Just tongue kissing would be way easier. He says, well, see, I feel like this way would be easier because I actually get to get her some enjoyment. And she says, wait a second. She says, what is that? Poking my behind. She says, what is that poking my ass? She says, nah, she don't say it like that. She says, Kakarot, what is that poking my ass? And Kakarot, he's like nothing. He's like, I don't know what you mean. He still doesn't know what she's talking about. As he gets closer. And he says, this is only gonna take a few more seconds. And she says, Kakarot, what is that poking my ass? And he says, I honestly I don't know what you're talking about, but here you go. As he gives her the power, and she says, and I'm gonna say, after he gives the power, he feels that his jangling is on her big booty. Basically, he says, "Oh, now I know what you're talking about." And she says, "So that was," she says, "So that was thank you all along." And he said, "I really didn't know." He says, "I didn't know." And he hugs her even tighter. And he says, "But the bust on that booty looking pretty fat." And he grabs the cheeks. And he says, he says, "We're not even taking this to the room." Basically, she says, "Izuku, wait, shouldn't you put on protection?" And he says, yeah, I have to ask you something. And she says, and Kakarot says, "Do you truly love me?" And she says, "Yeah, of course, I love you with all my heart." And he says, "That's all I needed." He sticks all the way in. No homo, but my boy, y'all hear me say no homo, right? No homo, but my boy Izuku, he packing. And basically, he's packing, and basically, he sticks it all the way in. And basically, I would say this opens, because this opens her womb, and he starts thumping all the way back in her womb, and a lot of blood starts coming out. And she says, "Izuku, it hurts." And he pulls out, and he says, "Oh, okay." And she says, "Wait, no, but put it back." And he says, wait, what? And she says, she says, I thought it hurt. She said, but it also feels so good. And he says, okay, whatever you say. And he puts it back in, and it's separate. The womb opens again. He starts thumbing all the way back on the womb, and like he says, we do 2 minute time skip, and he's still thumping back. And she says, he's like, I'm about to. He says, I'm about to, and she and he pulls out, and he says, ooh, that feels so good. He says, well, I get to ejaculate yet, so she says, he says, I didn't get the I didn't ejaculate yet, so I'm gonna need to get this stress off of me, cause a lot of stuff been going on down here. And she says Izuku wait. She says, Izuku, wait, I just ejaculated. I'm gonna be very sensitive. She says, I might even ejaculate again. And he says, that's good, Shia. And she says, wait, how is that? And he sticks right back. He says, how is that good? She says, how is that good? And he sticks it back in. He says, it just is. And she wants super loud. And she says, harder, faster. She said, all those sexual things, perverted things. Bro, I know exactly what I'm watching after this video. Anime! Nah, I ain't gonna watch no anime. I don't know what I'm gonna watch. But basically, Izuku, he ejaculates. And she says, he gave her a cream pie. Y'all know what a cream pie is? Get out of here! Go on. Okay? Just go. Cause I feel like only a handful of y'all know what a cream pie is. Basically, a cream pie is basically, let's see. It's basically when the male, I'm gonna stop all that shit though, no cap. Basically, it's basically when a dude ejaculates, in a girl, no square. And basically, he fills her up, the womb fills up, and it overfills. And basically, after it overfills, basically, it overfills with semen, and the semen starts falling out from her normal square, dripping, or coming out, pouring out from her normal square. And he says, oh wow, you really had a fun time, didn't you? And she, I don't know if this is really appropriate, cause Dragon Ball is like a family. Nah, I was gonna do what if Goku, what if Aang was betrayed, and it was gonna have a lot of stuff in there. But then I made the video, but I just deleted it. I deleted it. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. I don't want my boy Aang to be a big freak. Their relationship was gonna be Toph and Katara. Basically, and Sokka them was gonna betray him. He had a lot of earthbenders following him, and they were gonna betray him too. But basically, am I still recording? Alright. Yeah, basically, so what happens is Izuku, he says, or Izuku, not Izuku. Yeah, he's not, oh my, Kakarot. Get that in your head, bro. Kakarot says, he says, I filled you up, didn't I? And she says, yeah, you did. And she says, I don't think that who's gonna be available for a while. She says, I don't think my no square is gonna be available for a while. And he says, oh, I know. As he picks her back up, and she says, what are you doing? as he lays her on the wall. Like he like puts her doggy style on the on the uh on the wall, and I'm saying her boobies is pressing up against the wall, and she's like or yeah, she's like, he's like, what are you doing? And he's pressing her butt cheeks, and he says, ooh, he says, well, if your nono square is not gonna be available, I do see another hole. She says, Izuku, that hole's not big enough. And she says, you know that. And he says, well, now it is. And basically, she said, and she moans super. I'm not really sure if girls moan if they get ass fucked. So I'm gonna say she moans super loud. And she said, ah, and she moans. And she says, Izuku, you have to take it out. He starts going back and forth. And he says, oh my god, this feels better than your normal square. And he starts pounding on it, making her cheeks red. He's just going back. I might have to pause the video real quick. Oh my god. Wow. This really happened in the middle of the video. Okay, maybe I'm gonna go get some tissue. Alright, so 30 minutes just to do what I was doing with the tissue. Okay, so basically, I'm going to bring me a roll here. Alright, let me focus. Basically, Izuku, he's like, Izuku is basically pounding in her booty hole. He nuts in there. And she says, how is your nono square? And she says, he says, she says, oh, that was so good. And a lot of stuff just starts falling. His semen just starts falling out from in there. And basically, she said, I think I'm addicted. And basically, he said, he opens his eyes and he smiles and says, he says, that'd be good. And basically, what's it? They're gonna have a kid. Not right now. Like, I'm just saying, like, in general. They're gonna have a kid, and he's gonna be gonna be stronger than Goku. He's gonna well, as soon as he gets born, he's gonna unlock the Super Saiyan God. That's gonna be his base form. And basically, Super Saiyan God with Ultra Instincts key around him. That's gonna be his base form. He has the powers of his mama and dad. In general, just saying, it's gonna happen, but not in this episode. It might though. Okay, never know. You never know what I have in store for with this episode. I just go free ball. All my videos are free ball. So if you hear me stopping, that's probably because I'm thinking. Or I'm probably watching some anime while I'm doing the video. Trying to recap what happened in the anime so I can make the video. So basically, we see Kakarot. He says, I think I'm addicted too. As he's looking at her booty cheeks, and she says, that's good, but I can't do it right now. He says, okay. I'm gonna say they take a 15-minute break. Her legs are fine now, and all the semen that she had semen that came in her, basically, what I went into her, all the semen that went in her, basically, it like went to the eggs and like, I really don't know how to describe it. I'm gonna say they, and they went to the female eggs. That's the best part I can think of. That's the only part like I really know about sex ed. I'm not gonna get into sex ed. I will be making a sex ed video tomorrow. No, I'm playing. And he's like, he's like basically he's like uh basically he's saying he says let's go take a shower. As they've been sitting there and he ejaculated. So he's been beating off, ejaculating. He's basically because that booty, she just in the same position. He says, "Hey, are you awake?" She says, "Yeah, I just don't think I'll move right now." After the 15 minutes, she says, he says, "Well, let's get all this stuff off of you." They go to the shower, and she undoes her hair. I'm not saying she look bad, with her hair down. Deku, he raises his eyebrows, and she says, "What does that look for?" He says, "I'll put it back up if you want." And he says, "Nah, keep it like that." And she says, "It look good, doesn't it?" And he cocked and said, "Yeah, it does. Never seen your hair like this." And basically, I get in the shower. I'm gonna say, I did get in the shower. Um, they get in the shower and basically, uh, they want another sex scene right here. Don't know if I should. No, I'm not. As it's gonna be a little bit of sex. It's gonna be a sex, but it's not sex. Basically, she gets in and he's like, "Oh my god!" He says, "Your cheeks really are huge." She grips him and like she says, she blushes and says, "Thank you." And Deku says, after what we just did, I really don't think you should be blushing." She blushes even harder. And he says, "I love you." And she said, "I love you too." And basically they like, he pulls her booty, or he's sucking her from the stomach. Or, oh, really, he's sucking her from behind, and his arms are wrapped around her stomach. And he's pressing her booty against his, junk line. Freaky, I'm gonna add a sex scene right. I'm gonna add a sex scene right here. And basically, she says, "What you know about love?" I ain't gonna say it. And Deku, he says, "Welcome to the store and get what you want." Which we can get it all night. Take up the room. Nah, I'm playing though. Put it out of rubber. I nutted on the covers. Ooh. Alright, let me focus. Izuku, he sees Pop Smoke go hard boy. I just listen to Pop Smoke. Basically, Izuku he gets the booty. He says he says he says I think I she says he says I was being serious when I said I was addicted. He 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 bends her over and he like moves her to the wall and puts her in like a 90-degree angle for him. And basically he says, "Oh yeah," and he started licking. And basically he stops and she ejaculates. And he sticks it in. And we gonna have me beating the cheeks up, boy. And he's grabbing her breath, her things while he's doing this. And he ejaculates in it and he lets her down. I'm gonna say the shower. The shower is still going, but put her down like on the like tub floor or tub ground, however you want to say it. He put her down there and he starts sucking on the titties, and basically milk comes out. He says, "Ooh," he starts sucking some more. He says, "That's so good." He says, "It's so sweet." And she says, "Stop, you're gonna suck me dry." And she says, "Those are for you. Those are for our future child." And Izuku says, he says, "Well, we don't have a child yet." Wait, my video's still going. He says, "We don't have a child." He says, "We don't have one yet." So and he started sucking even harder. And she says, "Wait, no." And I would say, I don't really know if girls can come and can ejaculate from their titties. I'm gonna say she does. She ejaculates from her titties to from her nipples, her titties. My fucking god, what am I fucking saying? She ejaculates. She ejaculates from her nipples, and basically Deku. He says, he drinks it all. He licks his lips and says, "I want more." And she says, "No, get off me, you big freak." And she don't say that. She says, "Well, you can have any." She says, "Well, you can't have any." And basically, he says, oh, he's about to go back sucking, and she pops his head. But lucky thing, my mama heard. I'll be right back, y'all. And yeah. Oh. Sorry. Oh my god. Bro! Sorry. And he cleans it off. He picks her up and he cleans it off while he's helping her. Well, she doesn't really happen. Oh yeah, he did. He blew her back out twice. And no. After he gets done sucking the titties, he says, "Well, if you won't let me suck, if you won't let me get your special milk," basically, he says, "If you don't let me get your special milk," he says, "then I'll just have some girl special." And she says, "Izuku, I'm not ready for that." And she says, "Izuku, you blew it out 4 times today." And she says, what if I get pregnant?" And he says, "If you do get pregnant, that's gonna be a good thing. One, I'm gonna be a father, you're gonna be a mother, and our son is gonna be pretty strong." I'm gonna say Goku. Hold on. I really wish this didn't happen. Sorry. I better back. I ain't gonna go get some more. Gonna go get some more tissue. Yeah. I better back. Actually, I just bring you with me one time. I just bring you with me while I'm talking. So basically, we see Izuku pounding the cheeks some more, and unless she get pregnant for this, and he pops down there. Like, I'm gonna say that's we sister. I really don't know if that's we sister or not, but in this one, I'm gonna say it is. So Goku pop down there. I mean, we pop down there, and he say, "Ooh, ha, ha, ha." He say, "Hey," he said, "Sis," and he opens the door. He said, "Are you in the shower?" And I want to say, want to say that he's seen her naked before, cause like their brother sister. We just not on the Alabama though. To them step sis, he not on Alabama, bro. Like no. Whew. But that do be good. Cat though, you know what I mean? Nah, you shouldn't know what I mean. I shouldn't know what I even mean, cause I never did before. Like now, I don't even have a sister, man. I'm just kidding. You know, I said the video. Okay, so basically, we pops in there while Goku is blowing her back out, and he says, "Hold up," and we see pops of Deku, He pops in front of Izuku. And he says, well, he looks through the shower and he sees her and he sees Izuku. I mean that, and he sees Kakarot, and he says, "Ooh," he says, if you weren't number one in the galaxy, I would kill you right now." Or he says, "I would smack the hell out of you right now." He says, "But I'll let you continue on." Ooh, and he leaves, and basically she get pregnant off of this, and basically, um, I might just make this a movie. Yeah, it's gonna be a movie. She get pregnant off of this. After she get pregnant, basically, we do a week later, and she's been puking up and stuff, and she says, "Kakarot, I think I'm pregnant with your baby," and he says, "For real?" And she says, "Yeah." Or she says, "Kakarot, I think I'm pregnant with your baby," and he says, "Well, I don't want to be a father." He says, he's fine with it. He says, "I'm leaving." And she says, "But I thought you wanted a son." And he says, "I was just playing with you, Sheila." Oh, with you, where my phone go? Oh, he says, "I was just playing with you." And he says, he calls her Angie. He says, "I was just playing with you." He says, tell me why kids get powerful. I want to come here and train them. That's the only time I'm coming here. You better not tell him I'm his father either." And she starts crying. And Goku smiles and he walks off. He leaves the planet. And he comes back. As soon as he leaves, he comes back from behind her. He goes behind her and she cries. She's crying. And why I thought you wanted to be a father, Kakarot. And basically, the pregnancy was and she says, "Well, if you don't want the child, I don't want it either." And you see, as soon as he turns around, she sees Kakarot hugging her. And he says, "No, I was just joking. I really would like to have a son." And he says, "What are we gonna name him?" She makes a hug and she starts, you know how girls beat you in your chest and like softly, but they're like angry at you, mad at you, but they don't want to hurt you. That's what you do. Basically, that's what you do. And she said, "It's alright." He says, and look here, I can't believe you thought I'd leave my own son and you like that. And he says, "I just can't believe you, Angie." And he walks away. He says, "I have to go think about this. I might not come back for a year or two." And Angie says, "What?" And he says, "What? You?" And he's gone. Back with Goku, he tried to her again. He sneaks behind her again and says, "Angie, I thought about it. Well, I want to be father now." And he says, "I'll just prank you." And she smacks him and she says, "That shit is not funny." And basically, she smacks him again and says, "What the hell do you think you are?" She says, "Who the hell do you think you are?" She smacks him again and she says, "What the hell do you think you are?" Smacks him again to think that you smack, I'm gonna leave, smack, my son, smack, and me like that, smack. How smack are you just gonna do that and say smack? It's a fucking prank, smack, smack, smack. And she's about to smack him again. His face is like super red. Smack marks. And you can see her, you can definitely see her hand. Like, oh yeah. We popped down there because he heard a message about how he got him a nephew now. He got him a nephew. And you say Goku, he has same blood running through his veins. Super Saiyan God. You know, if you were Super Saiyan God, that you were
like in the royal family of the same. He has that part of the blood, and he says, there's something strange, there's something different about it, something I didn't know before Kakarot. And he says, what is it? And he says, it looks like you have royal blood flowing through your veins. He says, of course I have royal blood. I'm a Saiyan, of course. And he says, I'm one of the strongest Saiyans. And he says, of course I would have this blood type like that. And he says, no, you have royal blood. You're descended from the Super Saiyan God. As Whis looks at him and says, according to my calculations, you have 3 more forms to awaken. And basically, he says, but your last form won't be unlocked. He said your last form will be only unlocked through suffering and despair. And he says your last form will only be unlocked through pain and anger. He says your second to last form will be unlocked through happiness, and your third, you'll just have to train. And he says when you get your third form, your final form, you'll be stronger. I want to say the only person stronger than Whis. Then Gino. Was you gonna do who they sealed away? And he came back, like that dude with he had like goat horns, and they sealed him away. He looked like a goat and stuff like that. Basically, he says you'll be stronger than, I don't know his name. I'm gonna call him Moza. He says you'll be stronger than Moza. He says, who is Moza? And we says he's the strongest person alive. He says, what is this person? He says Zeno sealed him away. At first he was Zeno's right-hand man, but now he tried to betray Zeno, and Zeno locked him away. And he says, let's do it to you. He says, okay, and he goes to his son. His nephew. He looks at his stomach. He says, well, it looks like I'm gonna be an uncle. And if Dad Papa says, it looks like I'm gonna be a father. And he says, you boy, come here. And Goku says, who's that? He says, who's that? He says, who are you? And he knows who Whis is. He never met their father. And he says, Angie, and Whis says, that's our dad. And he says, oh, and he says, what would you like, sir? And he said so loud, he says, are you the one who had sex with my daughter and got her pregnant? And she blushes, and she says, Dad, you don't have to say it like that. And he says, well, that's what happened, isn't it? And she blushes, she gets ready to say, squirts her legs and say, yeah, it is. And basically, he basically, I like how I really never stay on topic, and I always end stuff in like a peacefully fashion. Like, oh my god.
How long is this? It has to be more than at least an hour to be a movie. And basically, Zuko, he says, what if, Kakarot said, the dad saying, you did a good job, right? He says, you did a good job. And he looks in the eyes, and he says, I've been trying to have a grandson for years. And he says, he's crying in his chest. He said, and Goku's confused. He's like, okay. And he says, thank you so much for having sex with my daughter and doing everything you could and having sex with her and her having sex with you and choosing
She's blushing harder and harder after every word the dad says. Um, he says, "You're welcome," and and she says she is. I mean, Angie walks up to him. He says, and she says, "That's not something you should say you're welcome to." And he nanosecond behind her. He says, "Well, I did do it, didn't I?" And she's pressing his jangling up against her booty. And he says, "Oh, I did do it, didn't I?" And she scrums her legs. She turns around and she screams like her face is forward and her arms like back, and says, or like just touching her a booty thigh, just touching her booty thigh, but just like separate a little bit. And they're like, she says, "That's not." She says, "Izuku, I'm pregnant. You're not gonna have any." She says, "You're not gonna get any more." And he says, "Okay, at least get some milk." And she says, "No, I told you, that's for the baby only." And he says, "The baby's not even born yet. Come on, Angie, please." And she says, "No, you wanna suck me dry the way you suck." He says, she says, um, she says, "The way you suck my boobs, you suck them so hard that I feel like you're gonna suck me dry." And basically he says, no, no, no. He says, I promise you I won't do it this time." And she says, "You say that every time." And basically, he says, "Oh, okay." He says, "Okay." And basically, and she was like, "Just last week, we were in the shower. What did you do?" And he's like, uh, uh, "I sucked them things to the end of the road." And she smacks him. She says, That's not the meaning of this lesson. The lesson is," and he says, "What was that for?" He says, "What was that for?" And she says, "That's not the that's not the that's not the he says, "That's not the meaning of this lesson, is it?" And he says, "No, it's not, Shia." And she says, "No, it's not." He says, "No, it's not." And he says, "No, it's not, Angie." Sorry, I'm just so obsessed with the name Shia after after the other word of. And he says, basically Zuko says, "And why are you always hitting me?" He says, and she says, "'Cause you're annoying." And she looks away and pouts with her eyes closed. He says, "'Cause you're annoying." She says, "You're annoying, Kakarot." And he gives her, and it's really not annoying. He says, "You wanna be saying that in bed?" And basically she says, "Shut up." And she goes back to the house. She storms off angrily, happily, pouting. She runs up to the house. And we did a 10-year time skip. And I said her name was Angie, right? And Angito. No, and Angito would be a good name. Angie. And Vegeta had a baby though, okay? Angito. So it's not gonna be that. It's gonna be Go. Angie. No, it's gonna be Goku Jr. Yeah, that's it. Nah, his name's gonna be Gohan. He says, Gohan walks up to the dad. He says, "Dad, can you train me?" He has white hair. And they think that this is just, he has red hair, and he says, Goku says, when he was born, he was like, Piccolo pops up and be like, "I would like to train your son for all the hard work you done to me, for all the hard work and how you trained me, out of destruction, Lord Kakarot." And he says, "Just call me Kakarot." And basically Piccolo says, I think that would be informal, and he says, I think that would be informal and very rude to me. And he says, well, you can call me Kakarot. I just said it, so I wouldn't be rude. And he says, okay, whatever you say, sir. He says, Kakarot, I would love to turn your son. He says, no problem. Just make sure you bring him back. And he says, at least at like 7 o'clock, because his mom is always crazy. And he says, actually, no, keep him. He says, actually, actually, no, you can keep him to at least 8. I have to handle some business. As he licks his lips, and Piccolo says, he smiles and says, he chuckles at it, I understand, sir, and Gohan, he says, what's what we gonna do tomorrow? He says, son, just focus on your training. And we do an hour time skip, and it's 7 o'clock. And she says, they're in the shower. Izuku says, hey, would you like to take a shower with me? And it's 7 o'clock. And she says, wait, I'm gonna go get Gohan. She says, wait, let me get Gohan. So he told him to take a shower too. And he says, I already told him. Kakarot says, I already told him. And she says, look at you being a responsible dad. And he says, and Kakarot says, I'm always responsible. He says, I'm always responsible. And as he smiles in the shower, he walks in that booty. I'm gonna say Izuku, he has the soap. And he cleans it off. And he says, here. He cleans himself off. And he says, here you go. And she's in front of him. She's in front of him. And basically, she drops the soap. She bends over. And Izuku smacks it. He says, juiciest ever. He jiggles it. And basically, she won't. And she said, and Izuku said, what she said, Angie said, I've been dying for some odd days, or for some odd week. And Angie says, I think she said, I've been dying for some odd week. What's his name? Kakarot says, me too. She sticks her in. And she says, I just think I got bigger because she says, I really don't remember the size and the thing's bigger. And he says, you'll be the judge of that. He starts going ham. And it presses. Like, if you get both of your pointer fingers, and you get your right pointer finger, and you press, and you push and you connect, if you put them together, and you get your pointer finger, and you start adding pressure. You see how your left pointer finger is bends back? That's basically what happened. He's basically pushing the skin on her womb, in. He's pushing it in as he broke the seal to their womb. He starts tapping the back of the womb, but pushing her back because his thing is so big, it has to go somewhere. And he says, and basically, she said, you do too, and basically talk about him again, and she's she basically, well, let's see. What do you want to say that she basically, she says, I'm about to ejaculate, and Deku says, me too. And she says, do it over me, or in the other. She says, do it over me, I won't have enough. She says, do it over me, I'm not ready for another kid. And he says, don't worry, you won't get pregnant. And she says, you don't know that he ejaculates in her. He pulls out, he gives her to the bottom. Then he's fixing the booyah. He says, remember how I said this whole was better than the other one? He goes, it goes, and goes, and goes, and goes, and goes, and goes, and goes. Ejaculates 3 times, and then pulls out, and she starts sucking, 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 sucking. And he nuts in her mouth, and basically she falls down, and he starts following the titties. He started drinking the milk. He's drinking, drinking the milk, and he's like, she's like, she basically said, "Ezekiel, you're sucking dry." And he said, "Well, he says our son is old enough to drink water now, or any other juice other than these fluids." I see. I'm gonna say he turns the shower off and he picks her up. He takes her to the bed, and he's laying on his back, and he's just sucking and sucking, and basically he grips the booty and he puts it back in, and she says, "Ezekiel, what if I get pregnant again?" He says, "Trust me, you're not. And if you do get pregnant, you can do whatever you want with it, with the baby." And she says, "Thank you." And he says, "You know what that means, right?" And she says, "What? What does that mean?" And Ezekiel says, what does that mean? And Ezekiel basically says, I can ejaculate in you however many times I want. And she says, "That's not what that means." It basically, she says, "No, that's not what that means." And she says, he says, "Yes, it does." And basically, he says, "Yes, it does." And basically, he basically just, he ejaculates in her 4 times. And he says, "Look like I filled her up." He says, "Look like I filled you up." And she says, "Not yet." Which her eyes are rolled up. And basically, I talk about, she says, not yet. And he say, Piccolo brings Gohan on this time. And Piccolo, he knocks on the door, and he kicks it down. So he opens the key. And he said, "Don't worry, I have a key." He opens the key. He opens the door with the key, and he hears the mom in the morning. He says, he goes to the door and said, "Hey, Piccolo, can I stay with you tonight?" And he said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Why?" He said, "You should be with your mother and father." And he says, "I gotta do the Nazis right now." And Piccolo raised his eyes and said, "Oh, yeah, sure." They go to Planet Namek. And we're gonna say, in the middle of the short. I'm not sure, Frieza, I think Frieza just said it. But he never got to Planet Namek. They showed it. He goes back to Planet Namek. And he, basically, what his parents really got the story. His mom and dad died at old age. He just died. He was young. And basically, he started beating the cheeks up. Beating them up. Why? He said, "Did you hear that, honey?" And she says, "No, just keep going." He says, "Okay, whatever." He takes him in the video. She started jumping up and down. He says, "You make me feel so warm inside." And he says, "Me too." And basically, he gives her cream pie and everything. And everything starts, his seemingly starts falling out. And he says, "You know, you're wasting good eggs." But he says, "You know, you're wasting good sperm cells." And she says, I don't care. She says, "Just put it back in." And he's like, "Again? Huh?" And he's like, "Take me to take a shower." And she pushes him down. And he says, "No, you're not." And she takes him down. And while he's sucking him down, he's licking her. Basically, she ejaculates on. He ejaculates her mouth, and it goes up, and some of the sperm cells pop out of her mouth, here again. And basically, he just raped. And basically, after he just raped. After he just raped, we see another daytime skip. And she's there. But no, he puts her on the bed doggy style. He blows her back and stuff again. And we see her clean pied, legs on the ground or on the bed with feelings, with sperm just flowing out of her being. Or no, of course. He goes to the shower. He says, would you like to get up and take a shower with me? She does not think I'm going to sit here for a little bit. And he was humiliated and not mind me. And basically, you know that dude that got locked away? An evil angel let him out. Goku Black let him out. Yeah. He went behind Bill's back and Goku Black let him out. And Bill found this out and killed Goku Black. Goku Black was the strongest, and they all got afraid of Beer. At first they thought it was Goku Black as their leader. And they listened to what Beer said, but they never listen. It only if he threatened them. And basically, they say, they start being way more respectful. Because Beer says, I killed that Goku Black of yours. He was more than, he only used, he smacks his lips and he says, 30% of my power as I've been getting stronger by the day and night. And his goal is to beat Kakarot and get his position back. And basically, he says, anyone who else tries to defy me shall die. And because he has a girl now. Alright, we say Orlando. Orlando 17 is his girl now. And she says, yeah, anyone who defy. No homo? That's all no homo. She says, yeah, anybody who would defy my daddy would die. And they all look at her like, what did you try his eyes? Like, come on, Android 17, you're supposed to be on our side. And she says, that's what they all looking like. And Android 17 says, why are you all looking like that? You're looking at me funny. And when I know, she says, when did you start being his girlfriend now? I don't know. She says, why don't we go? And we go. Hey, why don't we go? Body, we gotta go. And then we bullet hole. But that's the and basically, you see, whatchamacallit, Izuku getting out. Or not Izuku, but, that dude that still got released. I'm talking Shadow Khan, of course, Mortal Khan. The dude from Mortal Kombat. Shadow Khan, that's his name, Shadow Khan. So Izuku runs up to Shadow Khan, goes to his place, and he says, I'm gonna say the only one he leaves to go do some kind of destruction work, and the only one in there is he's unlocked his unlocked his remember I say he has them 3 xenoforms? Yeah, he unlocked his first one already. And no. I want to say he unlocked his first and second one, and we see Deku. He gets back from home to his house, and he sees Kotal Khan destroying his house, and says, "Whoever's in there dead." And he says, "Final Flash times 10,000," and it breaks the entire house, and there's no sign of his girl. I'm gonna say she heard his presence and she got in the bunker that they had. it was hidden. Well, she teleported with a cover to cover herself up and to like the heaven or whatever the angels stay. I would say heaven. I would say whatever the angel's domain. She teleports to the angel's domain and she says, Whis, you have to hurry up and contact my brother. My Yes, you have to hurry up and contact Kakarot. The house just got destroyed and Gohan is up there with them and she says I'm saying Gohan she don't know what Gohan was, so she boom teleports to Gohan and goes up there and he says you have to help us. We you need to hurry up and contact Kakarot and 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 she starts stuttering and she says and tell him to kill that bastard that destroyed our home. And Gohan says he says what do you mean? He says what do you mean, mother? And he starts to get furious and he says there was this he says that there was this man named Shoto Shadow Khan, as she says and this is his he gets his eyes he says he's stronger than Zeno. And we get back to he says get the Grand Priest on it now. And the Grand Priest we tells one of his lower he says go get the Grand Priest now. As the Grand Priest rush over there when the rusher he can sense something wrong, so he's riding over there and they say Grand Priest we need your help. We uh uh I forgot her name. Angie's in trouble. Or Angie something happened with Angie and I don't know. Just come quick. And the Grand Priest says okay and it takes him as he's getting there. Goku he unlocks his final form. The hatred and the he thinks that Angie and Goku are dead. He says basically Shotokan Goku goes down there in his final form and I'm gonna say it's godly. His hair is orange because that's the only form I can think of where it's like they haven't made a color of. His hair is orange. The outline of his stuff is Kaioken, all his transformations, all Zeno's transformations, all Whis' transformation, Beerus's, basically everybody's transformation is on his outside. And it looks super weak. His form, it just looks like his hair changed. He said, Shoto Khan said, what is this form supposed to be? And he says, where is that Xeno's boy? And he said, Kakarot, he says, Xeno, she's dead. And he says, what? We killed him. And he said, he doesn't know when, he doesn't know when to know. He doesn't say that, say that he killed him, so he doesn't know his true strength. He says, he killed himself to save the galaxy. As he looked down, and he says, who are you? He says, he says, my name is Shotokan. He says, my name is Shotokan. I am more powerful than Xenos. I am his superior. I know taught him everything. That's but rightfully belong to me. And he says, Goku says, why you destroy my home? I did nothing to you. And he says, you did though. He says, what? He says, you destroyed the race that I was gonna kill. Instead, the man. And he says, what race, huh? And he says, freeze. And Deku, how do you know about? He says, well, how do you know about that? You don't told me that you were away for like a lot of years. He says, well, I have eyes, and that evil angel is telling him everything. He says, I have eyes everywhere. Well, he says, let's say a certain somewhere needed me their eyes, and basically he tries to attack Deku, and Deku eats the punch. Not like he eats the punch. And Shadow Clone says, "You're the powerful pawn I face. You might be up there with Zeno, but no worry, I'm stronger than Zeno." As he goes to his max form, he says, I hate to exterminate you, vermin. He says, I hate playing around with my prey. As he goes to his final form and he rushes at Deku, he punches him, and he says, and it doesn't do nothing. And he says, Shadow Clone says, "What the hell? What are you made out of?" And Goku punches Shadow Clone, and his his jaw breaks, his skull gets a crack in it, and his nose breaks, and his lips and ears start bleeding. And he says, "You killed them, killed them." And you know that move with like, it's basically like, I forgot what it's called. It's like a Kamehameha, but it's with one hand. It's green. Let's see what he does. He says, ugh. Oh no, he does an angry. He does a super angry Kamehameha times 5 or times 10,000, and he says, yeah, and destroys his planet. He says, "You pay Shadow Khan, and for killing my family." He says, boom, and destroys his own planet along with Shadow Khan. And basically, Shadow Khan's thinking, there's no way he killed me. There's no freaking way he killed me. And basically, he says, "What did I do? I destroyed my planet." He says, "What did I do? I destroyed my planet. I destroyed my home, the place where I felt peace." He cries. He's in the sky flying. He says, "See ya, God." And he says, "Why? Why did I have to leave you? Why couldn't I just sit here and protect my family?" As he cries, he goes to the nearest land, and this is Earth. He goes to Earth, and I would say, he just lands in the mountains. And I'm gonna say Broly went to Earth, and they're having a tournament right now, like with everybody besides Frieza, and basically, everybody besides Frieza. And bro, I love this girl. I was gonna turn my phone off. Oh, you should watch him. You see him up there? Entertainment, he go hard. Samara go hard. Ultra Anime. AD. I don't know. I really don't know who this is. But yeah. He goes to Earth and he says, "Why? Why?" And Broly, he says, Beerus, he's there watching, and he says, "This is Kakarot's presence." And he looks at all the other guards of attraction, and he says, "Whis." I'm gonna say Whis was still friends with Beerus, and he says, "What is it, Beerus?" Beerus, he says, "Kakarot's here." And he says, and Beerus says, "Has become evil. Tell me now." And he says, "No. His family, Goku thinks that his family is killed, and Gohan and Shia are dead. Those were only people. Those were people that made him happy." And basically, Goku eyes turn red. He says, "Why the hell did this have to happen to me? All I did was fulfill my duty." And his voice gets darker. And basically, he starts finding people and starts destroying them. He one-taps them. Basically, what a Saiyan would do to a baby. That's how he's handling them. He's he's on a rampage and she sees it. She goes on. I mean, Angie and Gohan. Angie, Gohan says, Mom, you have to stay back. But he says, Mom, I'm gonna go calm him down. And we says, I'm sorry, kid, I can't let you. And Nick chops him. And she says, Angie says, thank you, Shia, or thank you, Whis. Or we'll say Gohan was fighting, and he was like, I'm gonna go down there. He needs to know that we're safe. And he says, no, his rage is not too much far extent. He says the only person that can calm him down is Angie. Angie, go down there. And he says, I'll be protecting you. And Grand Prix says, Angie, wait. And he goes down there, and basically, Angie, she says, Kakarot. She says, Goku. She says, Kakarot. She says, Goku, where are you? Goku. And we says, according to what I'm seeing here, he's heading to the tournament of power. And he goes there, and she goes there. She's doomed there, faster than Goku can. And basically, he dooms there. Basically, at that speed, he basically goes to what's her name house, and he says, well, he goes to tournament. He says, "You'll die." As he got his heal and able to, and he feels Angie's warmth, and he powers down. She smiles. Once he's about to turn around, Broly said, Goku says, I'm sorry for what I've done. And Broly says, you lie. You're just an evil Saiyan who's come here to, destroy Earth. He said, I'm not going to let you do that. And Kakarot says, please, you have to believe me. That was 22 minutes. I was wondering why that's not going up, but that's why. Okay. So basically we see Kakarot is saying, please, I didn't mean to. Just calm down. I don't want to hurt you. And he says, he goes to Super Saiyan Broly, and he says, he and got Goku's blocking all his punches, and Broly gets the wrong idea. He says, so you think you're better than me? He says, I never said that. Please, just let me be. I didn't mean to. I'll bring him one back, I swear. And Broly, he says, Broly says, no. He tries to attack Goku, and Goku says, I'm tired of your existence. He says, I'm tired of you. He says, I'm sorry I had to be this way, Broly. He neck chops him and knocks him out. And he basically hugs Angie, and says, Angie, I'm sorry. On that, Roxy, I'm sorry. If I ever watch, it's called Let It Shine. Y'all ever watch that? And Chris get that, Roxy, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, sir. I think that's his name at least, Chris. Yeah, you got Chris and Cyrus. And he be like, Roxy, I'm sorry. Basically, he says, Angie, I'm sorry. And hugs Angie, and Angie basically hugs him back, and she says, Gohan says, let me go down there. He's calm. And he says, Grand Prix says, he is calm. And we says, wait a second, I still don't trust him. And Gohan looks at Grand Prix and says, you're gonna let me down there right now, as he gets his angel his angel ring around him, or I'm gonna kill you. He says, I don't give a damn if you're my uncle or not. You wanna let me see him. You're gonna let me see my dad. Or and his stuff is golden. And they say Grandpa says, oh hell no. He says, you can go down there, little boy. And he says, thank you. He says, thank you, whoever you are. And we said, he just sitting there, and he's like, what? He's the chosen one? And basically, he says, yeah, I guess he is. And basically, they go down there, they all reunite. He says, I'm sorry. I thought you all were dead. And they say, no, we're not dead. I made it out just in time to save, um, to save Goku. I made it out just in time. And she says, as he says, I made it out just in time. He hugs and says, I'm never ever letting you out my side again. I'm never. He says, Beerus, you can have your job back. And Beerus is like, but what about that universe? And he says, I'll get one of the angels to keep that place in check. Grand Minister. He says, I'll get the Grand Priest or Minister. He says, I'll get the Grand Priest or one of the Grand Ministers to well, he said, I'm gonna say there's multiple Grand Priests. He says, I'll get one of the he says, what's his name? Jiren. He says, I'll get Jiren to take care of it. He teleports at Jiren and says, Jiren, I want you to take care of a planet for me, or a universe for me. And he says, whatever you say, God of Destruction. And he says, thank you. And he picks Jiren up, and he teleports him over there. And Jiren says, listen here, I will be your new master. Lord Beerus. He says, Lord Beerus has, he says Beerus has gotten his job back. And Android 17 is like, oh. And he says, why are you pouting? And Beerus says, can I do something first? And he says, I don't care, man. You have destruction. And basically, he says, okay. She says, what do you mean, Beerus is leaving? And basically, he says, yes, he has got his job back. And she says, so he won't come here anymore? And basically, she says, no. Jiren says, no, he won't come here anymore. And basically, she's like, oh, can you? And he says, can I what? Do you want to see him again? That was clean. He says, what is your relation with Beerus anyway? And he says, I was his wife. And Beerus says, he gets there, he says, Android, I'm gonna say he calls her May now. He says, May, I'm here. And he says, I've gotten my job back. But oh my god, I thought my chills fell. He says, I got my job back. But that doesn't mean anything. You're coming with me. He says, you're coming with me. And boom, bring Android 17 there. And Goku says, this must be your girl. And she's, oh my god. He says, this must be your girl. And she says, yeah, it is. And he says, Android 7, he says, May. Sorry. He says, May, me Goku. Oh, he says, May, me Kakarot. The previous god of destruction. And he says, Kakar. And he says, Goku, May. And May, Goku. And he says, Goku says, it was a pleasure. He says, oh, it was nice meeting you, May. And Beerus says,
Or no, Beerus, he has Android 21. Yeah, he has Android 21 because she was fine. Good. Android 21, good. And basically, she basically just, I'm gonna say that that, she basically just, basically, she didn't do nothing. And they introduced themselves. And he's like, oh, okay. And basically, we see Goku. Want to say he's Earth's savior. Like, whenever he's Earth's hero. Whenever something bad happens, he's there. And he says, son, I want you to continue my legacy. And he says, okay, Dad. He says, can I go train with Uncle Piccolo? And he says, sure. But I think Piccolo is getting a little bit too weak for you. And he says, no, he's not. Actually, he just unlocked his new form. And he says, what is his form? He says, what are you talking about, son? And he says, yeah, it's on par with mine. With my, he says, it's on par with, Super Saiyan Blue. The form I unlocked for now. And he says, oh, okay, son. He says, how did he achieve this one? He says, basically, the previous Namekins, they gave him the power. And like he acted because he was a good Namekin and not the evil Namekin, searching for coming wishes with the Dragon Balls. Um, and basically, he says, oh, that's cool. And we leave it off. That's why I'm gonna end the movie of what if uh Goku slash Kakarot was the god of destruction.